Section 3, Sutra 4. Trayam ekatra samyama. Trayam ekatra samyama. The three in one place jointly is samyama, a technical word meaning dharana, dhyana, and samadhi taken together. The three taken together constitute samyama. It should be clear from what has been said previously in dealing with dharana, dhyana, and samadhi that these are really different phases of the same mental process, each succeeding stage differing from the preceding in the depth of concentration which has been attained, and the more complete isolation of the object of contemplation from distractions. The complete process, beginning with dharana and ending in samadhi, is called samyama in yogic terminology, and the practical mastery of its technique opens the door not only to knowledge of all kinds, but also to powers and superphysical accomplishments known as siddhis. It is necessary to keep in mind two facts about samyama. First, it is a continuous process, and the passage from one stage to another is not marked by any abrupt change in consciousness. Secondly, the time taken in reaching the last stage depends entirely upon the progress made by the yogi. The beginner may have to spend hours and days in reaching the final stage, while the adept can pass into it almost instantaneously and effortlessly. As samadhi does not involve any movement in space, but merely sinking, as it were, toward the center of one's own consciousness, time is not an essential factor in the process. The time taken by the yogi is due entirely to the lack of mastery of the technique. Sutra 5. Tajjayat prajna loka. Tajjayat prajna loka. By mastering it, the higher consciousness, light. By mastering it, samyama, the light of the higher consciousness. It has already been pointed out in dealing with samprajnata samadhi in section 1, sutra 17, that prajna is the higher consciousness which appears in the state of samadhi. But as the word samadhi covers a wide range of states of consciousness, so prajna stands for all the states of consciousness in samadhi, beginning with the vitarka stage and ending with the asmita stage. There are two critical stages in the subtilization of prajna. One of these is referred to in section 1, sutra 47, where the light of spirituality irradiates the mental consciousness. The other is indicated in section 3, sutra 36, which we haven't gotten to yet, when the consciousness of the Purusha begins to illuminate the yogi's consciousness. The role of prajna comes to an end when when viveka kayati, or the pure awareness of reality, takes its place as indicated in section 4, sutra 29. So let me look at section 3, sutra 36. Section 3, sutra 36. Experience is the result of inability to distinguish between the Purusha and the Sattva, though they are absolutely distinct. Knowledge of the Purusha results from Samyama, or the self-interest of the Purusha apart from another's interest of Prakriti. Interesting. Okay, and then the other one is section 4, sutra 29, which is close to the end. Maybe 31. 29. In the case of one who is able to maintain a constant state of vairagya, even toward the most exalted state of enlightenment, and to exercise the highest kind of discrimination, follows Dharma Mega Samadhi. Okay, I lost my place. Where were we? Section 3. Okay. Great. Now, let's move on to 6. My battery died while I was finishing up and starting the next sutra. It happens sometimes. All right. Vibhuti Pada, Sutra 6. Tasya Bhumishu Viniyoga. Tasya Bhumisu Viniyoga. It's in stages. Application, employment. It's of Samyama, use by stages. This sutra brings out another important fact about the application of Samyama. Samyama, as has been pointed out already, is the composite process of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi when applied to any object. But though the process will be essentially the same in every case, it will be more or less complicated according to the nature of the object to which it is applied. All objects in the universe are not equally mysterious, if we may say so. The mystery which is hidden behind them depends upon the depth of the reality in which they are rooted. Take, for example, the following objects: a piece of stone, a rose, and a human being. All the three objects have their physical casing, and although the physical particles constituting the physical form are progressively more organized as we pass from the first to the third, still there is not much difference between them if we consider only their physical nature. But what a tremendous difference there exists between them when we try to go behind the outer forms in order to unravel the mystery which lies hidden within them. Any fool can see that there is some difference between them, although all three of them are physically on the same level. A rose arouses, even in the ordinary man, thoughts and emotions which a stone can never do. And the mystery which is hidden behind the human form is one of the eternal riddles of the universe. Well, so I don't know. I'm a huge fan of stones. I just love rocks. So I don't know. Anyway, that's me. Okay. Materialistic philosophy may use all the logic which it can command to prove that essentially there is no difference between the objects except that of functions and structures, and people may thoughtlessly repeat these dogmas of a mechanistic universe. But in actual life, nobody takes these dogmas seriously, and even the rank materialist has to recognize and take into account these differences in his life. The voice of intuition cannot be silenced by these intellectual dogmas. What causes the difference between objects such as those mentioned above? Why is a rose a more mysterious object than a piece of stone, and a human being infinitely more mysterious than a rose? To understand these differences, it is necessary to bear in mind that the outer form of any physical or mental object is merely a covering of an inner reality, and what we mentally see of the object does not constitute the totality of the object. As in the case of a ship, the part which is submerged below the surface of water is much larger than the part that is visible. In the same way, what we mentally see in an object is merely a small fraction of what is hidden from our view. The researches made in the domain of science have brought to our knowledge, by methods of experiment and reasoning, a part of these hidden realities. But what we have come to know in this manner is very little, and of comparatively less significance as compared with the totality of what lies beyond the range of scientific investigations. These submerged aspects of all objects can be exhaustively investigated only by the methods of yoga, and Samyama is the key which unlocks the doors of these hidden worlds. All objects in the manifested universe, as has been pointed out already, are an expression of an ultimate reality, but the roots of different objects lie at different levels of spirit-matter combinations through which this reality is manifested. We may symbolize this fact diagrammatically by the following figure, in which the center of the concentric circles stands for the ultimate reality, and the successive circles represent the different planes of existence in their increasing order of density. intensity. The objects A, B, C, D, represented by arcs of the outermost circle, will be seen to have their roots in progressively subtler planes of existence, while the object E will be seen to be rooted in the ultimate reality itself. Taking the three objects mentioned above for comparison, we can easily see that in the case of a piece of stone, we have a mere conglomeration of physical matter with no design at its basis, and so its roots cannot lie very deep. I guess it depends on the stone, right? In the case of a rose, although we have a conglomeration of different kinds of matter, but this combination differs from that of a stone in two things. Firstly, it has the capacity for organic growth and decay inherent in it. And secondly, its form corresponds to an archetype. Even to a superficial observer, it should be obvious that a rose has got deeper roots in reality than a piece of stone. Coming to the human form, we cannot help feeling that we are face to face with a profound mystery. We have here not only a more elaborate material structure, but the form is the vehicle of complicated phenomenon, like thoughts and emotions and other aspects of consciousness. Whatever may be the nature and potentiality of human consciousness, there cannot be the slightest doubt that the roots of a human being lie much deeper than those of a rose. How far they penetrate into the heart of the manifested universe, it is unnecessary to discuss here. According to the philosophy upon which the science of yoga is based, they reach to the very center of ultimate reality. That is what the doctrine of the identical nature of Jivatmas and Paramatma really means. The fact that there are enormous differences in the inner complexity of objects must be kept in mind if we are to understand why the technique of Samyama is a very complicated science and has to be mastered in stages. Some objects touch, as it were, the mere surface of reality, while others go down very deep into it. Though Samyama is needed to unravel the underlying mystery in all the cases, it cannot be the same in actual practice. That is why there is a world of difference between the beginner who has just mastered the technique of samadhi and the adept who can almost instantaneously pass out into the highest realms of existence without much effort. The whole science of mathematics is based upon the four operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, but the beginner who has mastered these operations has very far to go before he can become an expert mathematician. In the language of the Yoga Sutras, these different stages involved in the use of Samyama mean the attainment of the four successive stages of Samprajñata Samadhi mentioned in section 1, Sutra 17, and the stage of Nirbija Samadhi mentioned in section 1, Sutra 51. So let's do section 1, Sutra 17. Section 1, Sutra 17. Samprajñata Samadhi is that which is accompanied by reasoning, reflection, bliss, and sense of pure being. And the other one he mentioned is section 1, Sutra 51. On suppression of even that, owing to suppression of all modifications of the mind, seedless samadhi is attained. Remember that one? So beautiful. All right. In the language of occultism, they mean the functioning of consciousness through increasingly subtler vehicles referred to in connection with section 1, Sutra 17. But the fundamental basis of both is the same, namely, penetration into different depths of consciousness, which finds expression through different grades of Chitta. The Yoga Sutras deal with samadhi from the functional point of view, while occultism deals with it from the structural point of view. That is why, outwardly, the two modes of treatment seem to differ. But the student who has grasped the nature of samadhi will see that there is no essential difference between the two, because passing in samadhi from one vehicle to another means coming into touch with the deeper levels and aspects of consciousness. The correspondences between these have been shown already in dealing with section 2 Sutra 19, and we're going to visit that one. Section 2, Sutra 19. The stages of the gunas are the particular, the universal, the differentiated, and the undifferentiated. Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Asmita, Vishesa, Avishesa, Linga, Alinga, you remember? Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, and Atma. Okay, the next one, which we'll do in the next video, is Sutra 7. The 3 are internal in relation to the preceding ones. Okay. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.